shot. There we go. Hey guys, this is Jay Legerm from Gridiron Football alongside Alex Allison, also Gridiron Football, and what we're here in the Caesars Superdome on lockdown actually. So we just heard that there was a shooting right after the final game between Cecilia and Franklinton, and right now all of us, everybody that's left in the Superdome for how long we don't know, but we are in temporary lockdown right now. So that is definitely a new one to my experience here in the Superdome. But it's been a great football day. I mean, disregard what happened at the end. Still an awesome day of football. It doesn't wipe that away. 3 great football games. You're going to talk about them, Alex. I know you got a chance to write about 2 of them. I wrote about 1 of them, and we were able to catch the action as well. We won't go over it, but yesterday was a great day of football, Alex. We talk about it. South Blackman state championship. They're state champions. And you look at last night as well. Vermilion Catholic was the one that topped off the day, and then the night off it was Sterlington getting the state championship as well. So great first day. That was like the appetizer. Yeah. We go into today, and the full course meal. It was a 5-star meal, I have to say, with 5-star action, and we're going to talk about all 3 games. Usually, Alex, we usually have, a dud in there. It's just the odds. We got so many games being played, but not today. This was a great day of football. We're going to kick it off with the first game. We're going to talk about that. So, E.D. White and Archbishop Shaw. This was the Division II Select State Championship. And Archbishop Shaw, E.D. White, we talked about Shaw being the number 1 seed. E.D. White, a lot of people were picking us as the state championship game, and both teams actually got to the state championship game for sure. And we talk about E.D. White. It was their game early on, Alex. I mean, you just saw really both teams punching each other in the mouth, and that's what E.D. White wants to do. They want to play physical brand of football. They were flying all over the football. Mason Wilson was, 5 or 6 guys were like right on top of Mason Wilson, and they did a great job of bowing up Jasper Parker. And when he said that on the show, that there's a good chance they can do that because they've done a great job this year playing like Xavier Ford the week before, bowing up great running backs. And early on, first quarter, E.D. White actually took a 7-0 lead. You're thinking to yourself that it could be E.D. White's day at the very beginning.
Yeah, this was, we had a game. This wasn't the 1-2 game, but because of the Shaw situation, it kind of felt like a 1-2 game. This was kind of the bracket, the way we sort of expected the bracket to come out. And we were expecting this game to be fairly close because these were 2 really good teams and fairly similar teams that were physical. They would run the ball a lot. And E.D. White had the strengths of Shaw played into the strengths of E.D. White in a lot of ways. And we saw that early in this game, that E.D. White's front 7, that linebacking core, that run defense is great. Fantastic. And they were able to slow down Jasper Parker, something really nobody much has been able to do outside of like the really big powerhouses that Shaw's run into this season, but like at their level. There's a reason why Shaw was the favorite, right? But E.D. White did it. And their first team in the playoffs to really do that, and they slowed down Jasper Parker and they slowed down Mason Wilson. And yeah, it felt like, whether it was jitters to early, to start up the game, or whether it was just E.D. White being that good, truly, and they were. Right. And yeah, they were swarming all over the entire time.
Yeah, really were. But Shaw responded. Mason Wilson had an explosive run, 21-yard touchdown run. Carter Douglas then followed that up with a 2-yard touchdown run to make it 14-7. E.D. White, but with just a couple ticks left on the clock, they had about 42 seconds really to drive the length of the field. But I don't know. E.D. White was playing great first half defense, but the one blemish they had in that first half was leaving the Michigan signee Jacob Washington wide open, and Mason Wilson was able to find him for the touchdown. It was a little bit of a circling act, a juggling act. Watch out! Guess who's making a cameo? I tell you what, Grant, you want to join in on the festivities here? So we're talking about the first game, E.D. White and Shaw. We're just talking about Jacob Washington. It seems like, the Michigan signee probably need to cover that guy, right? About before halftime. Yeah. A little bit of a bobble, but was able
great
to
play. That's great, just great play design right there. The only way he gets wide open, because you had all the confusion up there, It allowed him to break free, and of course,
Yeah, the pump.
nearly dropped that touchdown pass. Which apparently there was like 5 different questions about that one play. I'm like,
Yeah, there was.
I was like, why are we asking about this one play? We
Well-
all saw it.
Well, the play was game changing.
The play was game changing, but it was the same question. It was basically the same question, but a different variant. It was like every single Dwayne Johnson movie.
If anything, about that, yeah, that's right, Grant. If anything, it was a sigh of relief. You know, you were struggling a lot in the first half against a really good E.D. White defense. You were struggling, and just be able to get that touchdown before half, it was like, okay, it was a sigh of relief. We can get back on track, and that's what happened.
It was a sigh of relief, but it was on the flip side, it was really frustrating for E.D. White.
Yeah.
Because I think most people, if this were a boxing match and you were to by decision, deciding who played, even though the game was tied by halftime, you were deciding who played better in the first half. I think everyone would agree E.D. White played better. They looked like the better team in the first half. And E.D. White, as the underdog, Shaw was the favorite. They were favored to win this bracket. And as the underdog, feeling like you're outplaying a team in the first half that you're not supposed to outplay, quote unquote, you gotta come out of the first half with a lead.
Yeah, you do.
And there were so many moments in that first quarter and at the very end of the half that didn't go E.D. White's way that ended up really paying when Shaw sort of woke up a little bit more in the second half and played like the state championship favorites that they were.
And then this was the type of drive I saw in the Letcher game. E.D. White goes 79 yards.
They
take 7 minutes off the clock.
They had this was a stat just said by Ken during Ken Trahan, Sports during the live stream. I was a little bit late to the game today, so I was catching the first part via radio.
Yeah.
So don't quote me if I'm wrong on this. It's actually not my stat. But he said, I believe, that they led the state with 6 drives of 95-plus yards.
I believe it.
Which is believable, but also completely insane.
Oh, yeah. And that's not what you want to do against that team because they just get 3 yards here, 4 yards here, 5, and that's what makes them so dangerous. But it was a little deflating, though, because it ended with a field goal, but you get the lead. And, your defense still playing really well. You're up 17-14. But just for whatever reason, it unraveled after that for E.D.
A snap
White.
of the fingers,
Yeah,
completely.
absolutely. Jasper Parker was bottled up for the most of the time, but once he broke one free, nobody was. And you kind of had that feeling, okay, like he's going to break one. You just had that feeling. It happened. They take a 21-17 lead off a 62-yard run from Jasper Parker, and then the following drive, you might as well. It was a fumble actually too. So a fumble off the first play of the next drive. So it was like touchdown, bang, fumble, and then might as well get the other Michigan signee involved, Jacob Washington again
For a second
touchdown. And just a minute ago, it was 17-14 E.D. White, and just the next minute, man, it's 28-17.
Right. We knew this game was going to be on the more defensive end, even though the game, the final score was a little bit more middling than that. But when we had that scoreless third quarter, and we had a fourth quarter of these two teams, E.D. White gets that field goal, and the lead felt really important at the time. 9 minutes, again, you're not the team that's supposed to win the game, all of that stuff. And it felt really big because Shaw was being shut down. One play, within the span of 2 minutes, and the span of like 5 or 6 plays total. E.D. White went from completely, not in the driver's seat, but feeling like maybe they were the team that maybe would be more likely to win the game at that point.
Yeah.
To almost out of it. 28-17, 11-point deficit. They were down by 2 scores, and they needed a lot in a situation they weren't used to throughout the season, being down by multiple possessions. This is a really good E.D. White team, and for them to run into that situation here, I will say, and this leads into the next drive, they played really well in that situation that they weren't comfortable with.
Yeah, this is the reason why Coach Lassaine's team has won a lot of games and one of the winningest teams in the area. They respond back, and you thought it was over then, but they did a great job of responding, going 80 yards in 3 minutes, which is like 30 seconds for them.
Yeah, never happens.
Jonathan Lee got the 4-yard touchdown, 2-point conversion. It's 28-25, and you thought, okay, there's a chance. I mean, you were limiting this Shaw offense, to 28 points, and you have a chance, okay, 3:36, maybe get the football back, down by 3, but kudos to Shaw at the last 3 minutes and a half to close that game out because they did not give E.D. White another chance.
Right. Like, the big story coming out of this game is that it's a long time coming for Shaw, and that's what everyone was talking about week after week. Can Hank Tierney bring them back? And it was a tough road to get here. When you get to that final drive, it's like, You want to be the state champion? They're not just going to give it to you. Everyone's favoring you to win it. They're not just going to give you the state championship. You have to win it. You have to take it from them. And they did that. They showed what they should be able to do, which was hold the ball for a long time, end the game. Don't give E.D. White the chance to hold the ball again for the rest of the game. One final thing I want to mention is Grant Barbera.
Yeah.
So Jasper Parker, great. All the players for Shaw, great. Those two Michigan commits. Grant Barbera, one outstanding player for E.D. White, and absolutely deserved it. That drive to cut it to 3 points was a drive that showed just how good Grant Barbera is as a quarterback. Because everyone knows about his ability to run the ball and run that offense. But he showed the ability, and he's done this a few times throughout the season, but he showed it here in the brightest stage to throw the ball as well when you need to. Because that's what E.D. White didn't do a lot this season, and hats off to him. Heart of a champion, this E.D. White team. And they came up short because Shaw was a great team. They were slightly better today and those final moments. But this is a really hard-fought game, a really entertaining game throughout between two really physical teams.
Yeah.
Really, really good game.
Congratulations to Coach Tierney. Final score 28-25. Congratulations to Archbishop Shaw for the Division II Select State Championship. First time since 1987, and you follow this program. They're a program that feels like they've won more than one state championship because they've been to the Superdome a lot. They've won a lot of games, have produced a lot of NFL players. You felt like, man, they've only won one state championship before that, but that's been the case. Hank Tierney's been there a whole lot of different times, but they'll finally come back, since 1987, come back, win a state championship for the West Bank, for Archbishop Shaw. Congratulations to the Eagles for winning the state championship. Jasper Parker, 174 yards and a touchdown. Mason Wilson, 111 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, and also had a rushing touchdown. And the MVP, Jacob Washington, 8 catches, 105 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So that was the first game. That was the appetizer, right? We spent like 10
What
minutes
an appetizer.
what appetizer that was. Let's go. And the second game was insane. I mean, one of the best state championship games I've seen. Dunham and Catholic New Iberia. You kind of feeling that going into this game, Alex, that both quarterbacks, they're two of the best quarterbacks in the state. Yeah. Now, 2 different reasons. Luke Landry's one of the better, senior underrated, kind of flying under the radar, really good player.
Field general.
Yeah, field general, runs the offense.
Experience, knows the game well,
And then you got the superstar, Elijah Haven, number 1 quarterback in the entire country. You knew both quarterbacks were going to play well, and they did. But to me, Alex, I want to say Grant as well. Hey, Grant want to come on the show as well.
Another quick cameo.
Quick cameo.
Hey, you got to do a quick cameo for each game. All right? So, basically, one thought about Dunham and Catholic New Iberia.
It was insane.
Yeah.
But, of course, what a job by Dunham to fight back, of course. They're down 31-14. It looked like Catholic New Iberia had complete control of the game. But, when you have a guy like Elijah Haven, you cannot count out the Dunham Tigers. He's done this, but he did that in the quarterfinals. LCA, they're down 30-14. And in the fourth quarter, he led a miraculous comeback, and they were able to win that game to 34-30. Even his very first game of his high school career as a starting quarterback at Dunham last season, they were down by 2 touchdowns in a very similar situation, and he nearly led them to victory last year against Parkview Baptist.
Right.
So you can't count them out, but just also shout out to Catholic New Iberia on the goal line stand. They were put in a tough situation. The ball was at the 8-yard line. They stopped Elijah Haven. He only got 2 runs of 2 yards or 3 yards, and then an incomplete pass. And then how about this? Not going for the field goal and going for the touchdown. And of course, it's a hard angle, but it was the safe option. You take the field goal, you're probably going to overtime, and you might possibly win the game. However, they decided to go for the touchdown. Elijah Haven rolls out. It looks like he looks at Jarvis Landry, Jarvis Washington.
Man,
reminds you of him.
He's a great reason. He's bigger than Jarvis Landry.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because he's 6'4", but he also plays basketball too, so he's got vertical.
But
and those Dunham basketball games will be fun to watch this year.
Oh yeah. But also, he made the right read. However, Jerron, I forgot his last name. Was it Jerron?
It's not Jerron. It's something else.
Jamon or.
Eugene
Like,
is his last name.
I know it's true. I was
Yeah,
it
yeah,
Jamon Eugene? Or-
Kamal.
Yeah, Eugene.
Kamal Eugene, I
So
think.
it was
There you go.
Karan.
Karan Eugene.
Karan Eugene.
Karan
Combined-
By the way,
Sorry.
who's a sophomore,
So
and he
start-
leads the team. Although he leads the team in interceptions,
Yeah.
and of course he came up with another big time play.
Here-
And the goal made a great read, jumped in front of the ball, made the diving interception. Game over.
Yep, absolutely. There's your Grant
Yeah.
Sachere, River Sports Media cameo. So we'll have one more from him. But yeah, I mean, Alex, we talk about real briefly.
Yeah.
This game was wild. I mean, it was runs, and I said in the article, go check it out, groundfootballusa.com. If you noticed it, Dunham started off scorching hot. They scored on the first two drives, 14-3. They also booked in with 14 points in the last two drives. We'll talk about that later. But 14-3, you're thinking Dunham's going to run away with this thing.
So this was a game that I said in our preview that I was a little bit worried wasn't going to be a great game because it felt like, with all due respect to Catholic New Iberia, there's going to be a lot of respect given to Catholic New Iberia throughout this. So just stay patient here. But given the way the Calvary game ended, you had the feeling that maybe the Calvary matchup would be a little bit tougher for Dunham, and maybe they're actually getting a little lucky with getting Catholic New Iberia instead. And if they're, as the presumptive favorite, the 1 seed, all of that stuff, if they were to win, you might look back at it and Calvary would be like, yeah, but what if we played you instead? So when Dunham begins leading 14-3, and Elijah Haven looks unstoppable. There's a lot to say about Elijah Haven in this game, because, I mean, what isn't there to say about Elijah Haven? But he looked unstoppable. We're like, oh, Dunham's going to hang 50 on him. This is going to get ugly. And that's not what happened.
No, not at all. You mentioned it. Coming back, I believe it was 28 unanswered points by Catholic New Iberia. Tristan Lewis, 14-yard touchdown to run. Luke Landry, 1-yard touchdown pass to Bennett Woodring. 2-yard run from John David Hidalgo. He had different contributors as well. Luke Landry, 6-yard touchdown pass to Joseph LeBlanc. Luke Landry was in total control of this offense.
Luke Landry looked on.
Yeah, he looked really good. And I tell you, who didn't score a touchdown, but was a great complimentary piece to Landry was Owen Morris.
Yes.
Owen Morris had like 150 yards. I was shocked when I went back and looked at the stat sheet. He did not score a touchdown, but he did everything else. But that was a great, really tandem there. And for a while, it was the other way around. Dunham just could not slow down this Catholic New Iberia offense.
Yeah, it was a tale of two halves, but it's like the halves were the first and fourth quarters.
Yeah,
it's like the
right,
third quarters.
right.
No, but this Catholic, like the heart, for lack of a better word, of this team, of going down 14-3 against a team that you feel like, are we ever going to stop them? No. Are they going to ever stop us? Is the question to ask. And Luke Landry was a magician today. It was a Houdini battle between these two quarterbacks of the magic they could create. And whether it was somehow knowing exactly where Owen Morris was at all points in time, or just pinpoint accuracy at times, that was really impressive. The senior experienced quarterback was unbelievable the entire game, even in the fourth quarter, which, oh boy, that fourth quarter, he still looked good. It's just the offense wasn't producing because the game script was sort of different, right? But this entire team, the story of the bracket, one of the most wide open brackets in the entire state this year, and we got a team that came out of nowhere. They beat Newman, they beat Calvary, and they beat Dunham. So 1, 2, and 3 seeds. And it was an unbelievable run by Landry and that entire team. None of them had won a playoff game. We're going to talk a lot about Dunham in a second and about the sort of controversy, but also closeness of the game. But I just want to make it abundantly clear. Catholic New Iberia won this game. They deserved to win this game. They made the plays at the end to win the game. He talked. Grant kind of gave us the cliff notes, right?
Yeah, he did.
Talked about Eugene, Karan.
Yeah,
Karan Eugene. I'm so sorry because you're the interceptions leader of the team. You're a sophomore. You're kind of a star. Yeah. Like if we're talking about it as a sophomore being able to do that sort of stuff on a state championship winning team, he's really, really good. Makes the play the hero to win the game at the very end. A play that I think will kind of live in Superdome history.
Especially in Catholic New Iberia history. Especially
in Catholic New Iberia history. So he's fantastic. He's a great player. I also want to give a shout out to Bennett Woodring.
Bennett Woodring, two-way player.
Two-way player. So he had the touchdown, but he also had the fumble recovery. The forced fumble. He
the fumble recovery.
Took it from him.
Yeah, he did both.
And those two plays Dunham didn't run out of time. It wasn't like that. Catholic New Iberia made the plays to win the game. Dunham had the ball within the 3-yard line twice in the fourth quarter, on top of their 2 touchdowns, and they came up with nothing both times, and that was the difference in the game because of Woodring and Eugene making those plays. Catholic New Iberia was the team that deserved. Both of these teams were deserving. We'll talk a lot about Dunham. Catholic New Iberia was awesome today, and for them to do what they did, beating all 3 of these teams back to back to back, and winning the way they did, unbelievable. That group of seniors, that entire team, super deserving. I think one of my favorite stories of the entire state championship weekends at this point.
Absolutely. But Dunham, I mean, they just came back. You had a feeling that LCA game, right? That it was, here comes Dunham, here comes Elijah Haven. And, I mean, you saw a 1-yard touchdown run from Elijah Haven, then the onside kick after that. That's what actually led to the fumble. And that was 2 times. And we talked about the 2 turnovers as well near the goal line. Both of those were actually sparked by special teams, if you realize that. The special teams onside recovery that Dunham recovered, and the block punt. And you're thinking after both those 2 plays, Dunham is going to score off the momentum. But both times, Catholic New Iberia's defense stepped up when it was needed. And I even said in the headline of the article I wrote about that, I mean, both quarterbacks were fantastic. We talked about the final stat lines. I mean, both of them went up. Elijah Haven,
those stat lines.
300 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, 153 yards rushing, 453 yards.
He did his best Jonathan Zartez impression.
He did. 453 yards, 4 touchdowns.
He had 32 of the team's 38 carries.
Luke Landry, 226 yards, 2 touchdowns. He also ran for, I believe, another 62 yards. But in the end, it was the defenses that stepped up for Catholic New Iberia to win that football game. And both Haven and Landry had some Harry Houdini acts. I mean, some of those plays, I don't know how they got out of it, but they did. How about this? 145 combined plays. That was a new Prep Classic record.
Wow, really?
So that was a Prep Classic record.
This is so. I said it last night and it came out today. But the game, the Vermilion Catholic game, was a really high bar to set for the weekend. It got cleared, and it got cleared easily.
It did.
It almost got cleared twice, if we're being honest. We'll talk about that.
We'll talk about the finale as well.
That game was interesting. A really good game too. But this, this doesn't mean that much because I'm really young and I haven't been to that many football games live.
Yeah.
It's the greatest football game I've ever watched live.
Yeah.
The Dunham Catholic game. Twists, the turns. It was not like it wasn't ludicrously high scoring, but it was never boring.
It was clean football.
It was clean football. The turnovers were because people made great plays. The touchdowns, the offense, it wasn't because the defense was playing badly. It's because the quarterbacks were on fire. The quarterbacks were unbelievable. The defenses were unbelievable. The support around these 2 star players were unreal. And it was big play after big play. I was running back and forth on the sideline the entire time that I couldn't keep up.
Yeah.
There was so much going on these days.
There was so much going on, Alex, that we have yet to mention the controversial play right before halftime. The Hail Mary, and this is going to be a topic of discussion in terms of instant replay and how has that affected the games.
Maybe not the only play.
Yeah, not the only play. As a precursor to the last game we'll talk about. But Jarvis Washington had a Hail Mary. I mean, that was an interesting call, but following Dunham football and following their program, they don't have a kicker from that range. So, hey, might as well get Elijah Haven, Jarvis Washington, a chance to score. And at first, I was like, okay, looks like it was Alabama. But you go and watch the replay, it looked like Jarvis Washington had the foot in bounds, falling back, looked like he caught it.
Clear as
and I mean, a lot of people agreed that it was a touchdown. But after review, after looking at the video replay, the officials stood with the call on the field, which was an incomplete pass. So, how is that important? And obviously, I mean, it was a Hail Mary cool play. Well, look at the scoring margin, 31-28, Catholic New Iberia. If that touchdown was on the board, not saying, I mean, it's like the butterfly effect you mentioned, right? But you look back at it, it was a 3-point win for Catholic New Iberia.
Right. It's results-oriented thinking to say, oh, well, if that had happened, Dunham would have won.
Yeah, right.
Because that's not like Catholic New Iberia would have played the game very differently, all of that stuff. Butterfly effect, all that. But even before that, like if Dunham had lost the game 31-14 and there was no scoring and Dunham had just lost or even got blown out, like it got worse, I would have said the exact same thing. which is it very much could have affected the result of this game. Because well before the ending, I'm thinking in my head in the third quarter, man, it would feel a lot better for Dunham if it was 31-21 right now.
Yeah.
It would feel a lot better. It would feel so different. But of course, despite that, I was on the Dunham sideline. There was never any doubt
Yeah.
at all, the entire sideline, that they were going to come back. 31-14, 9 minutes, that's what Elijah Haven is.
Yeah.
But this Hail Mary, and I want to talk about the drive, because there's a lot
They
about
had,
Haven.
like, they had like hardly any time left.
Yeah,
like,
so
on that drive.
so Catholic Riviera scores. They get the ball to start the second half, which is
Yeah.
why they open and drive in the second half. They drive down, score,
Yeah.
and that's how we get to that 31-14. At the time, it was 24-14, and or actually at the time it was 17-14. Catholic Riviera drives down, scores, makes it 24-14 with 40 seconds, like about 40 seconds to go in the game, in the half. And I've seen bad teams, okay teams, good teams, great teams with all different ranges of quarterbacks. Every single one of them in that situation at the high school level, all of them do the exact same thing. They take a knee to end the half.
Yeah.
Everybody.
Yeah.
I watched Neville do it. Honestly, I thought it was a little bit over conservative in the Central game. The same thing happened. Central kicks a field goal to make it 10-7. They have like a minute left. They could have had a minute and 30 seconds. They just kneel. With 40 seconds and I think only 2 timeouts.
Yeah. Yeah. So.
Dunham, coach goes, yeah, I'm going to put it in E's hands, in Eli's hands. And he had, in my opinion, the most impressive drive of the game. I don't care that it didn't end in a touchdown. How he was able to cut up the defense in that moment, just bang, 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 was a level of execution you do not see at the high school level. And then the interesting call that I thought was really stupid at first, but then it should have scored them 7 points, to intentionally take a delay of game from being on the 26-yard line to being on the 31, because they understand Elijah Haven's arm and the angle that, like, he can't really, you just can't get the arc.
Talk about analytics. I mean, that's really good.
That is like it's understanding your player.
Yep.
At first when I saw the delay of game, I'm like, what are they doing?
Yeah.
You just took a timeout. Like,
They gave
there was
him
1 second on the
more
clock.
room for Elijah to
But
throw.
it was brilliant, and it should have gotten them 7 points.
Yeah.
It was a catch, guys. There was no like
like everybody. I said it. You said it. Everybody said
every
it.
single person who I've seen, asked on Twitter, everyone says agrees it's a catch.
Yeah.
And coach talked about it after the game. He's like, "Look, the refs did a good job. All of that stuff. I don't understand the call.
Yeah.
because it was ruled out of bounds on the field.
Yeah.
And then it stood, and they didn't give an explanation. They didn't say whatever. If it was not a catch, if it was a question about if it was a catch, okay, fine. That's a little bit less clear on the video.
Yeah, I think his foot was in bounds.
But
I
his
think
foot was in
maybe you were like, okay, they weren't
There's just
totally
no
sure,
question.
falling backwards with the ball.
Yeah.
But no mistake about it. Kathy Beer deserved to win this football game. And in fact, you go, like you mentioned, you beat the number 1, number 2, and number 3 seeds in that playoff bracket. You deserve it. Kathy Beer deserves the state championship. Congratulations, Coach DeSarmo and the Panthers. I mean, first state championship since Coach Indes was over there in 2016. So congratulations to the Panthers and Iberia for winning the state championship.
An all-time finish, an all-time game. The decision, you love a game like that to come down to the final play. And it would have been great to have seen that in back-to-back games. Unfortunately, that's not what we got for potentially nebulous reasons. So.
Yeah, the weird, the wacky, the unusual, whatever term you want to say, that was Cecilia and Franklinton for the last football game we're going to talk about. I mean, I talked about, Grant's doing the stand-up right now. I mean, I talked about it a whole lot on his show. Like, expect a lot of trick plays, expect a lot of stuff underneath the coach's sleeves in this football game, and that's how we way it starts. I mean, we talk about this Division 2 non-select state championship.
They had so much under their sleeves, I don't think they could fit their arms there.
I mean, they really high in it. They really were high in it, Alex. But, I mean, it started off what we expected. Franklinton gets the football. They score right down the field, score a touchdown, a 6-yard run from Cy Austin, a guy we're going to talk about a whole lot on this show. Ooh. But, you score 7 points, and before I can even post the first touchdown, Braylon Callaway decides he wants to return 88 yards for a touchdown.
You think he's kind of good?
He's a sophomore, too.
He's a sophomore. Yeah,
Yeah.
He's a top 100 player in the sophomore class right now.
He is good.
Number 4 player in the state of Louisiana. He's pretty good at football.
Yeah, he is pretty
It's
good.
it's Elijah Haven. We know that guy. Ahmad Hudson.
Yeah.
I think his name is Luke Zerang from Benton,
Yeah, yeah.
and then him.
Yeah, I mean, pretty good list.
That's a pretty good list.
And another guy's pretty good at football, this football thing. Diesel Solari had a 6-yard touchdown run to get a 14-7 lead. But Jacob Crane, who y'all have actually seen already,
Yes.
is a Gridiron Football Player of the Week.
Defending Gridiron Football Player of the Weekend.
Yeah.
Played pretty
Pretty
well.
good. Yeah, pretty good.
today.
Yeah. He had a 5-yard touchdown run, and that was 14. This is when the kind of trickery started happening.
Oh, the trickery started very early.
Yeah.
There was an onside kick even before this.
Yeah, and
There
I
was a
think
fake punt.
and I think on Solari, that Solari drive with the 6-yard run,
Yeah,
I think
it
that
was the
was
fake
when
punt.
Braylon Callaway had like 3 4th-down conversions.
One of them came off of a really interesting fake punt where Ellis Stewart they got too cute with this later in the game, but it worked here.
Yeah.
Where Ellis Stewart
Was the
lined
punter.
up to punt. He is their punter.
He is their
Actually,
punter.
their punter. But lined up to punt, took it, did not punt it, was gonna run it, and then gave
Started
this like
running
and then gave this like Tebow jump pass,
Yep.
pop pass over to Calais, who converted it and actually got like a huge chunk play out of it too.
yeah.
That was
insane.
awesome.
All right, Grant.
The-
You got
this
your
was-
third game.
Yeah, this-
Yeah, so what happened? So my phone died. I was trying to do a solo, but then my phone died. So I got to figure out how to rearrange the whole show now and everything. I'm not sure what we're going to do with your episode, Alex, but we're going to invite you on my show anyway. Of course, we're going to have Jason on. Alex, you can pop in for a second. Because, I mean, you're great at what you do. I know I'm doing a lot of promoting. I'm promoting you guys on this show, even though it's not even my show. So
Great saturate Rougarou Media.
Yeah,
Press
we're
the
towards
stickers.
me. Go subscribe.
Woo!
Go make.
Oh,
Go
so,
follow.
so is this the third game we're talking about?
Third game, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
SK is the show.
You know, I told you, Jace. I think I may have said this on your show. I know I definitely said much. I know it. I may have said it on your show, and it definitely told a lot of people here today and yesterday, and really throughout the weekend, was that this game had the ability to be the best game of the weekend.
yeah.
Silly, and it certainly did.
did.
Crazy ending. The second half was wild. A lot of points scored, which is what we expected. But the second half, which we all suspected Franklin was going to slow down the game, and it looked like Franklin had it. They had Cecilia
They had a lot of great
They had
adjustments.
Cecilia playing their game, and we all knew it was going to benefit Franklin. However, Cecilia, Disa Solari, I'm not sure if you got to this part, threw a great ball, although it was, he threw it basically to the defender.
Yeah.
And the defender, but he threw it was a great ball. He threw it up
Yeah,
there, had
it
hang
was.
time to the point where the defender had to bat it up.
Yeah.
And then as Ellis Stewart just happened to be in the right situation at the right position at the right time. He caught the game-winning touchdown, and then it looked like when Franklin got the ball back, and we knew that they're going to put together a drive. They're used, they've been in these a lot of these.
They
games.
were driving.
I mean, Jacob Crane is very comfortable being in this situation. The whole team is very comfortable in this situation, and it looked like they were very comfortable all throughout. But then Jacob Crane got sacked, fumbled the ball. It looked like he did. And now a lot of people said, it looked like he did.
Other
fumble.
instant replay.
We'll talk about it more
It
later.
looked inconclusive. I thought it was inconclusive. That I think if you're gonna. Here's my thing, and this is not criticism of the LSA or anything like that, but my criticism about that was, the play was blown dead. It was rolled down, and it wasn't. And to me, the replay was because we couldn't tell, but the replay looked like it wasn't inconclusive. Now I have to go back and watch the broadcast or whatever, but it looked like it was inconclusive. I'll be very interested to see what they have to say on the TV broadcast. And now of course we're going to talk to Ken Trahan about that. What he thought about that, but it looked inconclusive. So I thought maybe they should have kept it. I'm not saying that Ferguson would have won the game if they ruled it as the play stands, but
I wish we got to see.
Yeah.
That's-
exactly,
Yeah.
and that's a
See it play out.
right.
Yeah.
See it play
Because-
out. But I just think that, it was still a great game. Of course, both coaches had a lot to say, a lot of great things to say about both teams.
A lot of respect
And then
between the
Franklin,
two.
and I think Franklinton. I'm not sure if they'll be back next year, but they will be back. I think Salto Formaggio has his Franklinton team back to where they originally were. They just need stability,
Yeah,
right? There's
he
a
said
lot of
it.
talent at Franklin.
Yeah.
This was their fifth trip to the Dome in their program's history.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You know what I'm saying? This isn't like some
Oh,
program
yeah,
that
out of
no,
the
they just
water,
there was
right.
Shane Smith, and then nothing happened before, and nothing happened after. No, this is a program that has a lot of talent, and when they have the right amount of talent, they can make trips to the Dome.
Oh yeah.
And remember the last time Franklin went to the Dome was 2010. That was the year they won it.
Mm-hmm.
However, remember, they went to the Dome the year before that.
They did.
So, could they make it? Could they go back
Yeah.
to the Dome and win it? I don't know.
That's always.
But that's
been,
what history. But the history kind of repeats itself. But congratulations to Salter Formaggio and his team for a job well done throughout the year. They proved a lot of people wrong, especially tonight. I think they're going to be a program to be reckoned with for the next few years. As long as Salter Formaggio is there, and then whoever takes over, I think that program's going to be a wrecking ball for years to come. And Cecilia, they will also be a wrecking ball for years to come. Even though they lose guys like Ellis Stewart, they lose Dil Solari, and guys like that, they still have a lot of young talent coming back. So,
watch out.
Be ready for Cecilia to make some more trips in the Dome, as long as they keep doing the right things. Keep the program stable, and also Dennis Gaines. What a job he's done.
He's done a great job.
Two straight trips to the Dome. This time they win it. So congratulations, guys. You guys have a great night. Be safe.
All
Go
right,
back to Baton Rouge.
I'll see you tomorrow, my friend.
We'll see you guys tomorrow.
you
I
guys.
won't see you because
Yep.
you're gonna be
Yeah,
back
I'll
in Baton Rouge, but I'll see you tomorrow, Jason.
All right, sounds good. As we're wrapping up this show, we talk a little bit about the last game, Cecilia and Franklinton. Back and forth, as we mentioned. Grant did a great job of recapping in that one. But Franklinton decided to go for two, and that was the McGee Connor McGee pass. The side also made it 15-14.
This was the most. There has to be a better word. It's one of the most ridiculous football games I've ever watched. It was like it made nothing made any sense at any point in time. Like I said, there were so many tricks up the sleeve that you couldn't fit the arms in the sleeve. It was unbelievable. At any particular moment, if you just thought, okay, what is the funniest thing that could possibly happen? What is the weirdest, most ridiculous, stupidest thing that could possibly happen? It probably happened, or came close to happening.
Yeah.
Oh, a random kickoff in the 4 minutes into the game when it's 7-7, yeah, we're going to onside kick it. Oh, after we already got one fake punt, Ellis Stewart's going to line up as the punter again. He's their actual punter.
Yep.
But they're going to line up in this weird monster package with only 3 guys blocking him for the punt and no personal protection package, and 3 guys out this way and 3 guys out this way, and then he's going to fake punt it. Come on now.
Yeah,
It was telegraphed. And he throws a screen pass. They barely get any yards on it. They don't get it. We see the onside kick, the kickoff return. Actually, I think Cy Austin had some really good kickoff returns.
He did. He never had a touchdown or anything.
But he had some
big returns. Yep.
You had like half of the PATs were 2-point conversions or fake PATs, which is ridiculous. Franklin tried it a few times, got it once, didn't get it once. They were not afraid to fail.
No.
And that was
both teams.
I think we got a lot of that in this game, that they made adjustments. The two halves were completely different. The first half, nobody could stop anybody.
Yep.
And then the second half, nobody could score, really.
Yeah, it was weird.
The pace was so different.
Yeah, it was weird. And I mean, the first half, like you said, it was just back and forth. Solari, Crane, and you got the 2-point conversion, 15-14. Then Cecilia scores, and Solari scores, and it's 22-15. Calais, instead of like the swing gate, it was just like direct snap, and he scores, and it's 22 to 15. Then Cy Austin scores again. It's 22-21. Braylon Calais scores. They get the 2-point conversion, so it's 29-21. And then Gabriel Elzel, somehow, I thought he was short with that field goal.
I don't know.
Got it over, 36 yards, 29-24. And then you mentioned no scoring until the fourth quarter. Not really much. I mean, he had some interceptions, some calls in the third quarter, but it was slow. It was slow pace, and that favored Franklinton.
It was still exciin. There were still big plays. We had that crazy dual reception,
possession.
interception. Solari drops this insane moon ball that Skylar Williams picks off. But the third quarter, we saw this shift into, and this has been a big theme in these state championship games. The first halves have always been really close, and in the second half, you get a clarification of what the game is and who gets the game they want. We saw this with South Plaquemines, we saw this with Shaw in the fourth quarter, and we saw this here.
Yeah.
where Franklinton got in the first half. This was Cecilia's game.
It was Cecilia's game.
We got this sort of back and forth where Cecilia was getting the pace of the game they wanted, but Franklinton was still keeping it close.
Yeah.
So it would be a question of, we all assumed that the pace would maintain, and the final score would be in the 50s probably.
Yeah.
But the question is
Slow down.
Cecilia going to score 55 and hold Franklinton to 40, or is Cecilia going to score 55 and Franklinton has the ball with 52 with a chance to win the game at the end? And if we got that world, Franklinton was going to win, because Franklinton was 7-0 in one possession games going into the day.
Yep.
And so everyone felt, and especially when the third quarter had a scoreless nature to it, it had no points. Franklinton slows the game down. They kind of control the game. They got the game they wanted.
Yeah,
And
they did.
not everyone in the building, but I felt like this. Grant felt like this. A lot of people felt like this. This was going to be Franklinton's game because they got it. And Cecilia won anyway because they made the critical plays. They forced 3 second-half turnovers. And we had
especially
that
when
play.
late, around 3 minutes left in the game, when it looked like Franklinton had the game, and they
Yeah.
want to run the clock out. Connor McGee, who's a great football player, Swiss Army knife for him, does play some quarterback, running back, great player. He fumbles the football there, is recovered by Cecilia, and that led
The
to
play.
the play. Ellis Stewart, got to give a shout out to
Of
our
course.
gridiron football All-American, Ellis Stewart, with a bobbling catch. And this was before, actually, Cy Olsen had the touchdown
Right, to
get
take the
him
lead.
take the lead.
Franklinton finally got on the.
Yep,
It felt like for a lot of that, the first quarter and a half of the second half, it felt like Franklinton was the better team, but they were still trailing because they couldn't quite get on the board, and they finally broke through.
Yep.
And unlike the first half, where the lead felt meaningless, nebulous, flimsy, worthless, because it was just trading back and forth, when Franklinton scored that touchdown, it took the lead.
And the 2-point conversion of Jaden Garrett, the big receiver we're
Yes.
waiting to hear about.
When they did that, it felt huge because it was the only points of the second half.
Yeah.
So we get to that final play.
To a minute
The
17, Diesel Solari just heaves it up. Really good coverage by the DB, but like Grant said, he popped it up. I mean, batted it up basically. And Ellis Stewart, kind of like Jacob Washington, a different way.
Yeah.
Jacob Washington was scrambling, was like juggling it down here, but Ellis Stewart was juggling it down up here. But Ellis Stewart able to come down with the catch. He made some big time plays. I'll tell you, an underrated play he made was as the punter. Because it was.
I love that play.
That was
Yes.
an underrated play because that could have been a disaster for Cecilia, and that play described his whole game.
Yes.
I mean, he picked up the scoop, somehow missed a guy, got the punt off. It was touched by Franklinton. Mass scramble.
I have the word that describes both that play, which you're completely correct. It was a microcosm of the entire game. That play and also the entire game, schizophrenic.
Yeah.
That is what this game was.
That's what this game was.
That play, you put it perfectly. Ellis Stewart, it's similar to the Vermilion Catholic, where it bad snap and it like goes between his legs. It should be like a safety, picks it up. Terrible punt, by the way. Like awesome play
But
by him.
he had to do what he had to do.
Oh
in
no,
that
I know.
situation.
But I could see he had this like split second of like, do I just tuck it and try to get the
Right,
yards,
or
or
he was in between, yeah.
unlike every other punter in the world, I actually might be able to get it. And it's like, okay, no, I'm gonna punt it, and he shanks it, but then it somehow rolls, and then Franklinton player touches it, and it becomes a scramble for the ball. That for a second there, I thought the Cecilia player in question being Braylon Calais, of course, was gonna pick it up and take it back the other way. That didn't happen. Franklinton recovers, but you had this like disaster, success, disaster, whoa, and all in one play, a beautiful play. I love punts like that that have that kind of story to them. But a schizophrenic play for a schizophrenic game. But we have to talk about the play, and you talked about it. The bobble. My comment, in my opinion, the Dunham Catholic game was the best game of the weekend.
Yes.
That was the best play of the weekend.
Oh yeah.
An individual play, given the stakes, the nature of the play, the aesthetically pleasing play. We've had big game-winning plays already. The pick six, the pick in the Dunham game, all that stuff. But that play was beautiful. It was a Sports Center top 10 play, right? The game-winning touchdown to win the state championship for Cecilia. Absolutely.
And their
huge.
defense. How about their defense closing it out? Jacob Crane was moving, driving the ground football player of the week, driving the Demons down the field. Like, here we go again. They know how to win in these type of situations. But Cecilia's defense stepped up. Now there was another controversy
Yes.
play that Grant was talking about. But from my view of it, I thought they. Now, I thought the ball was
You thought it was
moving a little.
Okay.
Like I thought, in my opinion, I thought they got it right. Now, the first one with the last game with Dunham, I thought that was a catch.
Mhm.
I thought they got it wrong. This, on the other hand, just watching the instant replay, it looked like the quarterback Crane was losing possession of the ball before the knee went down, and
So-
that's from my perspective.
Yeah, so that's totally reasonable, and you got maybe a better view on the initial play, especially.
Mhm.
And this might be a really good thing for like whenever we post the highlights and we get a you decide situation. It might be a little bit more controversial, right?
Man, I have to go back and look at the video I did.
Because your camera angle might tell us a lot, right? If you
Yeah.
have that perspective. My perspective on it was pretty definitively in the other direction.
Yeah.
I didn't get a great view on the play because I was in the box, but the replay, I couldn't imagine overturning it on that replay.
See, look, I think he's. I know this is bad.
This
bad
is
shit.
great TV,
This is
guys.
great TV, but like, see, kind
I
of.
think he's down. I think he's really definitively down. How do you?
So, the thing was, I think what got me looking at it was that the ball moved like this way, and I think that's
I can't see the
Yeah.
ball very well from that,
Yeah.
that
Mhm.
camera.
yeah.
Great TV. Sorry, I know.
Great TV.
Watching
Great
us
TV.
watch someone's phone.
Yeah, that was peak television.
No, but on a serious note, no, that's my take on it. We'll see. Well, there's going to be a lot of talk about that play
Oh, there's gonna be some
for a
talk.
long time.
There's gonna be some talk.
But I'll go ahead and put it out there now. And look, it's not about like they made the call they made. I don't understand how you could possibly overturn it looking at the replay angles they had. I just
It was
don't.
going to be one of those things, whatever the call on the field was.
Yes.
If they would have ruled
Yeah, if they would have
him
ruled
down,
they did rule him down. They overturned
they
it.
overturned
They
it.
overturned it. That's my problem with it.
Oh, okay.
They
I thought they
overturned-
rolled. I thought they rolled it a fumble.
No, they ruled it. They ruled him down. I'm pretty sure. That's what everyone like. I'm pretty sure the call got overturned. That's my problem with it. If they ruled
Okay.
if they ruled it a fumble, I wouldn't have this issue because it looked inconclusive.
Okay. I gotta go back. Maybe. I mean, it was kind of weird. It was a hectic.
It was
last
very
finish.
hectic finish.
Very hectic finish.
Okay, I will say a lot of my comments and emotions are reserved for the world where it was in fact overturned. I'm pretty sure it was overturned. They're not going to have that in the sheets, I think.
No,
But,
I don't think so. But
if it wasn't, then okay, fine. You can't. I don't think you can overturn it either way. My problem was that it was overturned. If it wasn't overturned, okay, fine. It was. I actually do think he was down anyway, but I don't think you can overturn it with that.
either way it was called,
Yeah.
I think
But-
it was
But
stood.
regardless, the thing that's a little bit unfortunate is I think this game had the capacity to be that Dunham Catholic quality game
Mhm.
because it was awesome and so entertaining throughout. And we just didn't get the chance to see that.
You
finish.
wish you had
just
seen it.
wish they
Yeah.
had called it the other way, just because. That's not because of like Franklinton homerism or anything. It's just you want to see the finish. Cecilia wins, Franklinton wins. You want to see how that ends.
Yeah.
And it felt like we got
Potentially maybe overtime because
And
I
maybe
mean, they could
overtime.
have made a field goal.
'Cause
It was,
unlike
it was like
Dunham-
20 seconds left. You did take the sack, so that was going to be
They
one
would
of
have had
those.
to burn timeout.
Yep.
Unlike Dunham, they actually had a kicker that they felt confident in.
Yeah.
So we might have gotten overtime. More football would have been great. But yeah, it would have been great to see what the ending would have been. And we
Right.
didn't get that, and that's unfortunate. But this is still one of the best games. Easily a top 3 game so far.
Oh, yeah.
I think you
Two
could
in the last two are probably my top. I would say probably top 2, really.
Yeah,
I mean,
I think you can debate the Franklinton game with the Vermilion Catholic game.
yeah.
I think they're very close,
Mhm.
but easily top. Those,
Yeah, better
those-
say on that too, because
Right.
I mean I was listening on the radio but didn't see that game.
Both
but-
of those games were awesome. I think this. I'm not going to delve too much into that. Regardless, awesome game that could have been even better if we had just gotten a little bit more at the
Yeah.
end. Left me wanting more.
Yeah,
you
it
know?
did. It did.
Awesome, but an awesome
but
game.
Great game.
Congratulations to Cecilia.
Yeah.
Well-deserved state championship. What a run. We talk about a run from Catholic New Iberia. What a run from
All
Cecilia.
on the road, 18 seed.
Four
Yep,
road games
four
in a
road
row.
games in a row. All 4 teams were really good. They did a play on the road. Congratulations to Coach Skanes. I mean, they were in this game last year. That's the reason why I picked Cecilia to win. because they've been in the stadium before, they've been under the bright lights before, and I think that's helped. Diesel Solari being in this game as well, being the quarterback last year has all helped, and they were poised in the last couple of minutes, and that's not easy to win a close game against these guys because, like we said, they thrive in these close games, and for them to win a game like that, you for sure thought Franklinton was going to win a game like that, but for Cecilia to do that, huge kudos to Dennis Gaines, Cecilia Bulldogs. So Cecilia win their first state championship since 1995. So once again, last time as we got to wrap up and hopefully don't get locked out of the Superdome.
One quick note on
sure.
Nick Soltoformaggio.
Yeah.
In 1 year with Franklinton, that's a huge story too.
Yeah.
They were 3-7 last year. He comes in
Turn around.
And third program that he takes to the Dome. They'll be back, I think, as Grant said, at some point. Maybe next year, maybe whenever. But that's awesome. They came up short today, but you can't complain about
He's
that.
taken 3 teams to the Superdome. East Jefferson, they beat in the car, by the way. That's their only state championship. And then Hahnville, the run with Puka Williams. And then you had this year's team for Franklinton. They went to our media. Both teams actually went to our media day at the beginning of the season. And, talked about how excited they were for the season. Of course, they ended in the Superdome. So congratulations to these teams as well. For a great season. Congratulations to all of our state champions today, starting from 12 o'clock, Archbishop Shaw, Catholic New Iberia, and then finally Cecilia. So we got 2 more. Alex, I know you're not going to be with us tomorrow, but as Daryl was sick, and that's why Alex had to fill in for Daryl. But great day of football. Just last second before we wrap up, your experience of covering the state championship games overall.
Yeah, I loved it. This was a blast. A very exhausting blast, but a blast.
I got one more day of this.
You got one more day of this. Although it's only 2 games tomorrow.
Only
so it's
2
a little bit
only 2
less
games.
Exhausting.
Yep.
I've got other stuff tomorrow. It'll be a very, very long 2 days. A very good night's sleep tonight.
Yeah. Good for you.
Well, I gotta be up pretty early tomorrow too myself.
Yeah.
But I loved it. This is my first time doing it. I really enjoyed it. I got really lucky that we got these kind of games for my first time. I do want to give a slight mention.
Sure.
Because we talked about it a bit at the beginning. I do hope that with the shooting that happened outside, that everyone's okay.
Right.
That hope everything ended up all right on that front.
Yeah.
So do hope everything's okay, and we do get let out as soon as possible.
Yeah.
But yeah, so congratulations to everyone, of course, all these state champions, and this was very fun. Thank you for having me on here, and thank you for helping me enjoy this entire ride of these 2 days.
Absolutely, Alex. You definitely deserve a good job, my man. You're definitely a future in the business, man. So keep it up. Alex Allison here at Gridiron Football. He's going to help us as well as we have our Gridiron Football Bowl game coming up. Make sure to go to our website, gridironfootballusa.com. This has been our day 2 roundup. We got one more tomorrow. The 2 big boys are playing 2 big boy divisions: Division 1 Select, Division 1 Non-Select. So that's going to be John Curtis, not John Curtis. I'm used to saying John Curtis. Alexandria and Endicott. And then the second game is going to be Ruston and Central. It should be a good doubleheader to end the LHSA Prep Classic. For Alex Allison, I'm James Luzerne. Have yourself a good night or a good day whenever you're watching the show. And we'll see you next time on Ballin in the Booth.